All right, karibuni sana to the session. Today we are here with Dr. Gabriel Ouma and Dr. Rashid Mohammed. And we're going to be discussing transporting animals. Of course, we've possibly moved our animals either from the time we acquired them into our homes or back from one location to another. It could be local travel, it could be international travel, and the experts are in the room. So as we go along, I hope a few more of you can fill out the poll. It's still open. Let's see what your thoughts are if you've ever transported your pets and how your experience was, more importantly. So we can begin. I'll start with an introduction of myself first. Welcome to the podcast. This is a session we started to educate and learn more about animals, and talk more about their welfare and support everything we can about their welfare. As you all know, I run Cat Lovers Kenya, so this is supporting Cat Lovers Kenya. And of course, we support other welfare organizations that concern animals and other communities. This is our 6th session. We've had a bit of sporadic engagement, but we are hoping that we can resume into, if we can actually just be honest about it, we'll resume into two sessions in a month, because weekly sessions have been a bit of a challenge. So we'll probably go into every 2 weeks. But other than that, I'm happy to introduce the 2 veterinarians here. Dr. Gabriel Ouma is the founder and chief veterinarian surgeon at Small 5 Vet Clinic, and which has 2 branches, Rongai, which has been established over a long time, and of course the new center in Karen. I would encourage you to visit them and see the very interesting things they have going on there. They have a pet hotel in Karen, and they have much more than that. Small 5 Vet Clinic also has certifications as animal transporters, so to speak. And I'll let Gabriel talk more about that in a minute. But the one thing you need to know about Gabriel is, as I call him, a serious life enthusiast. He enjoys life and loves outdoor activity. So if you have adventures in mind, if you have things you might want to have him participate in, I guarantee you he's going to be very enthusiastic and a lot of fun when he's around you. And more so, he really likes to engage kids. When it comes to campaigns, you'll find him out there while everybody else is ignoring the kids. He's busy with them, playing with them, teaching them about animals. So karibu sana, Dr. Gabriel. And
thanks, Naomi.
His partner in business, Dr. Dennis Maupe, is right there. Karibu, Dr. Dennis.
Pleasure.
All right. And Dr. Rashid Mohammed, who I have only had the chance to speak to on WhatsApp, is our veterinary surgeon, and he's the assistant director of veterinary services, which is more so known as the DVS. They are the directorates that manage animal welfare and healthcare in Kenya. He runs and manages the animal holding station, which is at the cargo center of JKIA in Nairobi. So Dr. Rashid, I'm hoping that I will get to know you better beyond WhatsApp, and we can actually have a sit down and have more conversations. So I will let you introduce yourselves better. I hope I have not done a good job. Maybe we'll start with Dr. Gabu. You can tell us a bit more about yourselves and the clinic.
There's a plane passing. I'm just at the newest animal hospital in town. This is the Small 5 Vet Clinic and the Airport Pet Hotel in Karen. It's our new baby. But, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, how are you this evening? My name is Gabriel Ouma, Dr. Gabriel Ouma. I am a veterinary surgeon, 2010 graduate. So nimekula chumvi. That one is 12 years. We started Small 5 in 2012, and we've worked together with Dr. Dennis Maube over all that time. And we are a team. We've helped most of your animals, dogs and cats and horses. And most of you know us, we've helped you move around globally. But now the biggest part of our business we've been enthusiastic about is live animal transport. And you are honored, Naomi. We call you Dr. Naomi for giving us this chance. And we'll get to know each other better even as we tackle this topic in front of us. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to the discussion.
All right, thank you. Dr. Rashid?
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you so much, Naomi. My name is Dr. Rashid Mohammed. I'm an Assistant Director of Veterinary Services based at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And that's what we do day and night, looking at the care of animals, transporting them to the best of our knowledge. And I really want to take this chance and talk about Dr. Gabriel, because we could talk about Dr. Gabriel Ouma for the whole year without even his passion of animals and what he's done to the airport. I am really so pleased to work with Dr. Ouma, and we'll discuss more because there's so much to learn from each other. And I'm really happy that Naomi chose to work with me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So yeah, let's get into the session for today. As I mentioned, we'll be discussing about transporting animals safely and how we can, move them from one place to another. So kicking right off, I'll let Dr. Rashid explain to us why it's important that we consider their safety as we transport these animals.
As animal welfare, would really be very happy if in case of any transport, it should be provided to take care of the health of the animal and welfare. We usually have to avoid exposure to pathogens. We prevent injury and reduce external stress like temperature extremes, odors, and noise. There are two methods of transporting small pets, especially cats and small dogs. We have two, one would go as a cargo and the other one will go into the cabin. And then the other one will go into what we call temperature control. Once you go into the cabin, they consider it and then put it in the temperature control. Once the animal comes into the animal holdings, would really be very happy once you get the animal ready and the documentation. The documentation part will really minimize the time taken for the pet to be taken into the plane, because we've got the customs, we've got the agent, we've got the veterinary department, we need the health certificate, we need the vaccinations, we need both the export and the import permit. And I must say, Dr. Gabriel is up to the task, because wherever he comes with these documents are quite okay, and the clients take the shortest time. So what I would really advise, once you've already organized for your pet, ensure the pet is got very comfortable in the cage. It can turn, it has got beddings, it's very comfortable and less stress to the animal. And we do our best wherever it comes to the animal holdings. We do the shortest, check the documents, assist where the documents are not okay, try as much as possible to have a very short time with the animals for the welfare of the animals. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Gabriel, maybe you can take us through what it would require to really just prepare your pets when you're at home at this point, before travel, or before it even comes to you as the agent to transport them. What things should we be looking out for? What should we be doing? And how early should we start this process?
So I want to take you through the process of what is required when you're transporting your pet. First of all, this is a process. It's something that takes time. So you need to have all the facts at hand. So my advice to you will be, first of all, you visit your vet, find out what is needed. But this one, you go to the vet having known your destination, and also, you know, the origin country where you're coming from. And of course, you'll also consider the transiting airport where you're passing through. Each of these, the origin, the destination, and the transit, they have their own specific requirements. Once you have this, you visit your vet and find out if there are any tests required, if there are any documents required, all right? And also, you need now to start preparing your pet for the transport. How do you prepare this? You need to make sure that the pet is not anxious. You get it a crate, a Sky Kennel, and you let it get used to the Sky Kennel even as you continue with the process. The other thing that you need to do is start preparing it for the motion. Like if you're not really driving with your pet a lot, once in a while you throw it into your car so that it gets used to the motion sickness, and so on and so forth. But the most important thing when you're preparing for your pet is budget. It's not cheap to move your pet, and this is your baby, and this is where you normally get the biggest disappointment. The other thing that even as you're preparing your pet, you look at the destination country. Do you have enough space for your pet to take along with your pet? Are you going to be staying in an apartment? In Nairobi, you are blessed. We have very big compounds, and your pet can run into the street and come back. So on the other side, what are the legal requirements of keeping a pet? It's expensive to keep a pet, their taxes and all that, yeah. So when you're getting your pet ready for transport, you need to ask yourself those questions.
Okay. So what about the day, assuming this pet is traveling on the same day? We know, like, for example, when we're going into surgery with pets, we don't feed them. Should you feed them before you go to the airport? How many hours before should you do it? How exactly do you let the pet prepare? Because you know they're going to be separated from me for a long time.
All right. So me and Dr. Maube, we are IATA Live Animal Regulation Specialists. It's a whole big course about moving animals, the different types of species of animals. And now we are fully accredited IATA agents. So we live by that book. This is the book that guides us. Now, on top of that, we have the veterinary background. And this one also guides our steps. So as a professional, and I will put it to the team here, when you're moving with your pet the same day, the feeding, of course, you have to feed way in advance of the flight. I will give it 6 hours before the flight, because by this time the food is digested and it's moving into the intestines. If you feed it towards the flight, there's a risk that your pet can vomit, and then it aspirates the food, and you get a bad choke or even death with a dead pet on arrival. The other thing, water, you can give water ad libitum, as much as the pet can take. Give the pet, allow the pet to have exercise, walk it, run with it, play with it, because it's going to be a long time inside that cabin. And some pets that are anxious, and some that are very aggressive and restless, you might need to visit your vet again, your vet clinic. So in all these discussions, you're seeing the importance of the vet, so that they can either get a sedation or a tranquilizer or a calming medicine, so that they are able to enjoy the flight. Yeah. But avoid stressing your pet, even as you plan for the movement. Stop yelling, where's my pass? I can't get this, I can't see this. This one affects your pet negatively. But also how you separate from your pet is very important on your way to the airport. Yeah, your pet is wondering where you've gone, where you are. So all these have to be factored in.
Okay. Dr. Ibrahim, do you have anything to add to that as you prepare to get the pet on the road or in the air?
Yes. First and foremost, the documentation and the whole certificate needed is quite important. As we said, you stress. So what you do physical examination of the pet is required to ascertain that it's in good health condition and it can travel. Another thing we also need is to have some lab results, which especially for countries that they have eradicated rabies and eradicated major of the diseases, we should have what we call lab test is a requirement to carry out of the disease. Animal identification is also very important, because in order to have especially what you call microchipping, this is the only thing that will really assist in identifying the animal. Then another thing we need is what we call a treatment protocol that the pet is undergoing and the drugs that is in currently use. All this information is captured in the vaccination booklet, which is provided by the pet vet. Some countries also require rabies status tests, serological tests for export from countries that are endemic with rabies. What we'd really want, before even you plan for your transportation of your pet, ensure that all the documentation is up to date, the vaccination, the health certificate, then that one will minimize time for us especially for cats. We don't usually have to open the cats in the animal holdings. So we'd really want him to put a toy or a piece of cloth for the comfort of the cat. Documentation is very important before you come to the airport.
Okay, now there's a question I have, especially for local travel. You'll find someone wanting to move a pet from one end of the country to the other. And they often say, they'll come and ask that they've been told they need a health certificate and that they need permits to transport the pet. For local travel, how exactly do we do that? And what are the requirements for that?
For local movement, we usually ought to issue movement permits. We just have from one location to another, and we have to have movement permit, local movement permits. Local movement permit has to be accompanied by vaccination, up to updated vaccination, and a health certificate. So that that is to assure us that you're transporting your cat or you're transporting your pet, which is in very good body condition, which is updated with vaccination from one county to another. We have most of our clients who comes to go to Mombasa or Kisumu or Nakuru or any other place. They pass our office, we examine the vaccination, the pet, what we call the external and the internal parasite, which is quite okay. Write them a local movement permit, either by road or by air. It's all okay, but arrangement has to be done in advance.
Okay, so those two documents are quite different because most people will work with the vaccination certificate saying that rabies is the only test that should be, rabies is the only vaccination that is required for county to county movement.
They also have other diseases like distemper. The whole vaccination has to be updated so that before you take your pet, you go to stay in, let's say in Mombasa, you go to other pets, you need to have your pet which is very clean, it doesn't carry any external or internal parasites.
Okay. And the permits are valid for how long?
Depending, valids are usually, because we usually give them about 4 or 5 days. It depends on how they move. If they're moving with a plane, we give them 2 to 3 days. But if by road, you can give them even a maximum of 5 days, a validity of 5 days.
Okay. So this is a list that had been provided by Dr. Rashid as the must-have documents. So maybe you can just expound briefly on what exactly will be captured in each document.
The documents that are required for export or import of permit usually includes a health certificate, updated veterinary health certificate, which should not be more than 48 hours. Then we've got an international veterinary certificate, that's an export permit. It's usually through Kentrade. You apply through a Kentrade, through the DVS. Once you've provided the vaccination record, they provide you with a international veterinary health certificate for transporting your animals. I think they charge only 500. And then there is what you call the fee of the car agent and what have you. Then vaccination records. Once it has been done, we need to know the next vaccination date. And then those most very important thing is rabies status test. So you have to send a sample to either, because we don't do it here in the country. Rabies status test is usually done outside the country, either in South Africa, either in Germany. So you make a local arrangement with your vet, then you send the samples, and then you get the certificate.
Okay. If I may ask Dr. Gabriel, how early do I start doing the rabies status test? Is there a period where it's valid or?
Okay, that's line Dr. Mobe is an expert. I will let him handle that.
Right.
So we are together in this.
Yeah.
So, okay, so for rabies status test, this one you have to also to prepare in advance because it will determine also when you will travel. Some of these tests are not done here in the country. They have to be done somewhere else. So that's when now the essence of preparing in advance comes in. For example, you do a test, a rabies titer test. You will need like an average of 1 month to get the results. When you get the results, there are some requirements from some countries. You will need to wait for at least 90 days, a period of 3 months before you travel with your pet. So you have to organize, start early, the test to be done early for you to do that.
the reason for rabies, we know it's an important disease affecting both humans and animals as well. So, as countries who are members of IATA and other government regulations, some countries, some government usually provide regulations on this. We'll find some countries will require the rabies titration, some countries will not require the rabies titration. So also before you travel, you have to know the requirement of that country. Mm-hmm. And also you have to know the period before you travel. So it's an important area, it's an important aspect which has to be done in advance. So that's one area, and I've talked about now the importance of the rabies titration. So you have to prepare in advance for that.
So that gives the owner about 4 months ahead of time.
So yeah, and also to add, you know, when you're moving your pet, Naomi, you have to look at it as if you are the one who's traveling to another country. So of course, if you're traveling to US, there are requirements. If you're traveling to Germany, there are requirements. The first thing that you need is a visa, okay? Yeah. But to get a visa, you need a passport. So this is the vaccination booklet. Now, once you have the passport, to get the visa, they will ask for your bank statement. For us, this is the health check. Yeah, the vet has to do a full exam, all right? But not because we are coming from a high-risk country, Kenya, we are not rabies-free. Then they will ask for a rabies test. For you, this will be a health check. You told go to Aga Khan, they do a health check, they do certain tests. For some countries, not necessarily US. So the health check is done, the rabies test is done. Now, again, if you look at it the same way as if, let's say Naomi is going to Swiss tomorrow, the first thing you have to have is a name, all right? So for the passport, so the name is Naomi Mutua. For the dog, it's the microchip or the cat. This is a 15-digit unique code that is implanted to your pet. It's the size of a rice grain or smaller, and you can't alter this, all right? So we have given the pet the name. That is the first thing. Then the next thing is vaccination. We vaccinate dogs against DHLP and rabies. This is a universal requirement. And for cats, rabies and cat flu. Rabies because it's zoonotic. A rabies can wipe a whole population. That's why Australia will never accept pets from Kenya. You have to go to a country that is rabies-free. All right? After vaccination, you wait 30 days. Then the vet will draw blood. And then the blood is sent to one of the listed labs. There are very few accredited labs. Some labs are very fast. You get results within 7 days. Others are very slow. You get results after 3 months.
Yeah.
So you must ask your vet, to which lab are you sending the sample? And when am I getting the results? Now, from the date the blood is drawn for testing, you'll wait 90 days in some countries, especially UK, Europe, and others. 90 days, this is some sort of like a screening time. If a dog tested negative in the rabies test, serology, they have to get like a reading of 0.5 international units. Then a dog can travel after 90 days. In US, it's 45 days. Yeah. These tests last for a lifetime. You don't need to redo it again. All right? So long as you're vaccinating. And so long as you're vaccinating without delay. In some countries like Mauritius, they need it not longer than 6 months. So now you've gotten all these documents and you're traveling again as a person to another country. The next thing, you have the visa. This is the import permit. The import permit gives you what Dr. Rashid demands to see. They tell you, you must have this, you must have an invite, this. So this is attestation. Dr. Rashid will check if you as a person has complied to the requirements of the destination country. And then if Dr. Rashid finds it that you've complied, he's going to give you an export permit, which is like the air ticket. Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's quite straightforward. It's foolproof, but also it's not very easy.
Yeah.
And then maybe just maybe just to add about the health certificate also, remember it's done by the vet. So some countries, apart from the rabies, they're going to look for other conditions. Others will look for parasite-related conditions. Some will look for, there's a specific one, it's called brucellosis. Some countries will look for that. So as earlier stated, the person doing that must do a thorough research of that country, what they require. Also, the health certificate done by the vet must declare that your animal is free from external parasites, internal parasites. That must be stated for your animal to travel. So it's a very important document, and it must be done by a qualified vet.
Yeah. Okay. It's quite a rigorous process. So I hope everybody is clear of what is really required and that they must start really well in advance. Now, we often have animals traveling by airlines and by road. Those are the most common forms of transport. Are there any options for traveling by rail and sea? Maybe Dr. Rashid, you can take us through this.
Yes, majority of animals that come to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport usually travels through airline, various airlines. Then we've got by roads. By rails is mostly by rails, and sea is mostly large animals. We've got sheep and goats, cattle going out, but these ones are just large animals because of the duration that it takes to its destination. In another place that I really want to stress is about emotional support animals. Emotional support animals, these are animals that give guidance to the owner, emotional. The owner has to be with them, so it has to travel with the airline. And that's why I told you that we've got two types, the ones that go into cargo and the ones that go into the cabin, or what we call excessive baggage. So for us, airline is my most fastest route of animals, because even horses come through airlines. They come from South Africa, from Germany, from Dubai, from France, but mostly that small animals like dogs and cats, which are personalized pets, that the owners got a lot of sentimental attachment to them. So it's a discretion of the airline to allow them to travel in cabin or as excessive baggage, but mostly we recommend them to go in as excessive baggage once it's emotional support animals.
Okay, so and I assume that for emotional support animals, most airlines will limit those to dogs and not any other animals. And cats.
Dogs and cats, yes.
Because I've seen stories of people trying to get on board with a peacock or a llama in cabin.
Yes. It's a bit crazy, but it's the discretion of the airline.
Yeah. So all in-cabin transport is at the airline's discretion.
Yes, we provide you the permit, but the permit has already been put specifically showing that it's at the discretion of the airline. Once you provide them the documents, ensuring you can prove this is an emotional support animal, it's a psychiatric animal, is what we call service animal to you, then at the discretion of the airline, so long as provided us all the documents, the airline will allow you.
Okay. Doctor, is anything to add? Are you good there?
I'm good.
Okay. I can add on top of my senior, Dr. Rashid. Why do you use airline? It's fast, it's efficient, it's comfortable, and there's less stress. So if I was an animal, if I was an animal, I would like to be Naomi's animal, not the ones that travel on rail or by sea. So by sea, we have the cows and the goats. Because of the large numbers and because of the value attached to them, they are food animals. But remember, even a food animal, even if the end product is food in Dubai, they deserve to be treated humanely.
Yes. All right. All right. So let's just look at the precautions. Dr. Rashid, you can take us through what we need to do by air, and then Drs. Gabriel and Dennis can take us through by road. What we have to think through as you get on.
Thank you. The most important thing is the documentation. Once you traveling your animals by air, we'd really want you to book a direct flight when possible. Because when you put it in transit, the animals really have a long time in the cage and they really suffer. So we'd really ensure that you book a direct flight when possible, then have the crates which are identified, live animals. Then the crate should be well enough, should have room for the animal to turn, the comfort of the animals, then should have beddings. Then always the recommendation, shipping measurement for the shipping crates, because there's some freighter planes that don't carry above 180 or 186. But those ones are for big dogs, like the ones now in the picture. Measurements has to be done properly. Take the measurement properly, have enough beddings, have watering, and let the animal be very comfortable, and have all your documents so that the animal become comfortable and you have less stress in the airport.
Okay. Dr. Gabriel, by road?
So by road is quite straightforward. If your pet is as disciplined as me, it doesn't need a crate. Throw it in the back seat. Of course, make the trips short distance so that you can get out for a breath of fresh air. Pack enough food and drinking water for your pet. And don't feed prior to travel. This is for the animals that have motion sickness because they will vomit and your car will stink. Then never leave the pet alone in a parked car. It can get hot. Most importantly, don't forget your local movement permit or international movement permit if the aim is to get an international airline connection. Don't forget your vaccination certificate. We have these guys that don't love dogs and cats, so if they are licked, they shout, "Oh, it bit me." Or if they are scratched, then they say they have rabies. At least you have proof that your pet is vaccinated and rabies free. Take a lot of selfies and a lot of pictures to remember the road trip.
Yes, very important.
Yeah.
All right. In terms of the safety of carriers and crates, we have what is allowed and what is by standard. Dr. Rashid, can you tell us what IATA standards, or Dr. Gabriel, you can both contribute, what the IATA standards are, especially for the crate sizes and the crate types, because we have different animals who have different sizes and requirements.
This I would really want to pass to Dr. Gabriel because he just got his certificate of IATA and is a specialist.
Dr. Gabriel, go ahead. And Dr. Dennis.
My colleague, Dr. Dennis, will start. And then.
So basically, we are looking at the animal welfare here. The animal must express their normal behavior. So the crate must provide that. It must be big enough so that the animal can turn in. Normally, it's usually measured from the tip of the nose all the way to the tail base, and also from the highest part of that is the length, and then the height. It should be something from the head, just above the head, all the way down to the floor. So it must have that enough space for animal to move around. And also the crate must be strong enough, it must be rigid enough. There are requirements and materials which are provided. If it's a plastic, there are specifications. It must be this specification. It can also be wood. There are specification. If you are going to use wood, which wood are you going to use? Other things you are looking at is the ventilation. The crate must be well ventilated. The door side and all the sides on the sides must be well ventilated. Also, the door must have a secure lock so that the animal can't open it, or when something happens, the door will not open. Also, the IATA usually provides the size of the mesh, the length of the mesh. For example, for a cat, we have specific, you know how cats usually behave. Sometimes they stick their paws. Yes. So there's specification on the mesh sizes. Also for dogs, the specific sizes. So those are some of the things. Another thing, the crate also must withstand, let's say if something falls on it, it must withstand that pressure. So also your shipper, before you travel, talk to your shipper so that they give you the specifications on the crate you are going to use, because they will need to weigh your animal. They will need to see the size of your animal. So all those things will have to be checked. And even before you travel, sometimes the airline will have to have a look on the crate you are going to use, and they will do some measurements.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So maybe there's something to add.
So if I look at your pictures, in this presentation, it's just heart melting. If you look at the first picture, the pink crate, there's a cat. So my question is this an IATA crate certified or not? It is an IATA certified crate, but I cannot tell because the sides for an IATA certified crate, it should not just have the clips alone. There should be screws and nuts. Always make sure that is there, because in case it falls on the ramp, it opens up.
Yeah.
That is more job for Dr. Gabriel and Dr. Rashid, chasing cats in the airport. Then also, if you look at the wire mesh, this wire mesh is too big.
Yeah.
It should be around 17 centimeters square. So for this wire mesh, the owner will need to add more reinforcement in those squares to make it a bit small for the safety of the cats and the guys handling the cats. Then if you look at if you go down to the two other crates, the first one is an IATA crate, the big one, because you can see it has nice screws and nuts. It has an easy to open clips for the door. The second one, it's an IATA certified crate. Is it? I can't see the screws and nuts. So when you buy, you have to look at that. But most importantly, the handle. The handle at the top. If you use a heavy animal to carry this in this crate, there's a possibility the handle will snap. So then it stops becoming an IATA crate.
Yeah.
Most importantly, when you're moving into the cabin with your pet, now comes the daxi. Yeah, you see the dash on. It was in the cabin. The bag should be soft and flexible enough, should be well ventilated, should be able to fit under your seat. If you go with a bigger one, expect flight delays. Yeah.
Okay. That's very comprehensive. So assuming the pink crate cannot go in cabin, it's rigid, it's not flexible, can't fit under your seat. So it has to be first it has to be an animal that can fit in the small bag and a bag that can fit in cabin.
What they will usually do, they'll just have to take it to what we call temperature control. They'll take it into the baggage hall, they'll take it into the baggage carrier area, and then they take it to what we call the temperature control section. There's what we call temperature control section between 12 to 25 degrees centigrade, and the animal will be kept there. So once you come out, once you check off, then you get your animal out. Another thing I wanted to stress was the beddings and the water, and then you have the straps. The straps will ensure that the animal, in case of anything, the straps are there.
So the straps should be to move the cage around.
The strap to ensure that the door doesn't open up, both top and then the below.
The plastic tie wraps.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to add on my boss's, Dr. Rashid's statement, don't try to surprise the airline. They'll surprise you because those guys are like robots. So if you go with the pink crate, thinking it will be accepted in the cabin, and you are given measurements which you did not follow, there's a possibility the air-controlled room is carrying flowers or human remains. Yeah, then they can't take your pet, but you have to fly. So now you have to call all the clinics, they send you this size of a bag for you to change the pet, but it will be too late. So we've had instances where the pet was left behind, but in these cases, both the owner and the pet are left behind. So you really need to plan.
Okay, I think you can remember a case where we had, I don't know if you remember the cat that we called Uber, the cat that the owner abandoned inside an Uber driver's car in JKIA because the airline declined and there's nothing she felt she could do. So we ended up with a cat with the name Uber, who is now named Pendo.
Oh.
Well, that's quite interesting. We also had one a cat that came into the airport, and the owner had to open it and wanted to say goodbye, and the cat then left.
Yeah,
It just went into the darkness. So
disappeared.
it just disappeared. We advised the owner to leave us the cage and a few belongings, and then we kept it just outside the plane. 2 days later, the cat came back, and we are so happy it joined the owner.
That's a good story.
That one shows you should train your animals. At least they should know you. Maybe they'll come back when they run away.
I always tell people cats are the most unpredictable creatures and they do not listen. So if you're transporting a cat, just keep it inside the cage. Don't open it unless you're in a secure area.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. You had, Dr. Gabriel talked about, I think it was you who mentioned about places like Australia where they don't like to import animals directly from Kenya. So we do have some countries that have very strict regulations about import of animals. Do you have any experience on this? And what would you advise? This data is simply from my own research.
Dr. Rashid, you want to start?
No, continue.
So now, first of all, you guys, allow me to just congratulate all the veterinarians in the world for the good job they are doing. Vets are committed people. They are working 24/7 to make sure that we are safe. When a country says they do not accept dogs and cats, there's a reason. Okay. And I also want to congratulate our Director of Vet Service, who is actually the authority. I have to recognize the DVS as the authority when it comes to matters animals. Okay. And in this case at JKIA, we have Dr. Rashid, who is a very nice, warm person, always happy, but cares for the animal. He will not shortchange so that you are able to play with the animal. Like in Australia, it's an island. Yeah. In islands, Australia, Mauritius, Maldives, they have very unique species of animals and very unique species of people. Leave alone animal. They'll not accept you to come with tomatoes. Yeah. Or they will, when you reach at the airport, you'll have to like sanitize all your dressing because they're trying to protect the delicate flora and fauna. Australia will not accept dogs from a rabies endemic country like Kenya. They have never had rabies in that area. The rabies strains they have is from Paw'dCas, from the wild, not the ones that we have here. So if you're moving a pet to Australia, prepare for a long, rough ride. You need to start the process locally, then look for a country that is rabies-free, get a home or get a kennel or get a cattery, and have the animal there for, let's say, 3 months, then redo the tests again. And in Australia, the quarantine again the test will be repeated. So you are looking at around 1.5 years before you can be reunited with the pet in Australia. I just did a dog to Mauritius. And normally, again, it's good to talk to the experts. The requirements they have put on the websites is totally different from what is on the ground. They asked for crazy tests and specific tests, which can only be done in South Africa and other countries. But again, if you are rogue, and that's why vets are not rogue, you will just do shortcuts so that the animal can travel. But in the end, have you helped the delicate island? That's why it's good to prepare to avoid shortcuts. And if your pet does not meet the set standards for a certain destination, then I'm sorry. But yeah, the rules have to be followed.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Rashid, anything to add?
No, okay. I think he's elaborated it so well.
Okay.
Maybe something different.
Yes.
About that, not only rabies, also the animal, the breed of animal you are traveling with. Also, before you travel, you have to do some research on the breed of animal. For example, you have certain cats, certain dogs. You can't travel with, some countries will not allow. So you have to know the breed and if that country is accepting that breed of animal.
Okay.
And also there are some new rules for airlines.
Yeah.
They're not accepting pugs anymore and short-snouted animals anymore.
Yeah.
So we've had clients asking us, please change the breed to cross. If it's a pug, it's a pug, because they ask you send a picture of the pet in a crate just for, but this is also for your safety. They have difficulty in regulating temperature in the planes. They have difficulty breathing. Then you're looking at the high altitude. So this is an insurance risk to the airline and for your lovely pet after paying all that much. So check the type of pet you're exporting or importing. And
I think also that applies for cats. The same applies to Persian cats. They also have that short snout face. All right. Are there any red flags that we should look out for if I am looking to transport my pet? What things should make me ask questions or be cautious?
I think one of the most important things is for you to get a very experienced agent to work with. Mm-hmm. When transporting, you have to look for an agent who will give you all the documentation, the right documentation, the whatever is needed, and the customs documentation. Mm-hmm. Then when you receive your animals back into your care, there are so many other what we call briefcase agents. We really want to have agents who have got an office, who can provide you with all the necessary documentation, who can do it very fast for you, because animals with the airline comes in different times. Others come in the middle of the night, others come during the day, others come over the weekend. So the most important thing is to get a very reliable agent. And then another issue is make prior arrangements. When you really want to go with your cat or a dog or any other animal, make prior arrangements. Bring the documents to our office. We'll advise you so that you don't have what you call the last minute rush. I think those are some of the red flags you have to look out for.
Okay. Dr. Maube?
Can I say something, Naomi?
Yeah.
The red flags, first of all, I want to advise all of us that you're the best agent because it's your baby. In IATA, this is described as shipper's responsibility. Shipper is the owner. Then there's the agent, who is us. And then there's the consignee, who's receiving the pet. Okay? So, that said, I will go to the next one and say there's no perfect professional. The rules keep changing, and the best professional is the one who keeps following the rules and reading and researching. So like today, you might be moving a pet to US and then the next day it has changed. So all agents are prone to mistakes. Yeah. And there are some paperwork errors that happen on and off. But a good agent is the one that you can afford. Because then you can work through the process. But again, it can become very expensive. So I will advise you, when you're getting an agent, look at first of all reliability. And this is what you get from your referrals, references. Then number two, an established office whereby you can have someone to serve you. Then also you need to check the facilities. Do they have the facilities to handle your fur baby? And do they have the manpower? And most importantly, is accreditation. I will tell you what, to get the IATA accreditation, it has taken us 2 years. To get the JKIA accreditation, it has taken us 4 years. Yeah. So accreditation is important because this is a national outfit.
Yeah.
That means you've been vetted and you are liable to the international organization. If you mess a little bit, you are out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I believe that's it for now. Thank you very much, Dr. Aris. It's been a very insightful session. You know, we imagine that movement of an animal is just from point A to B, but like you said, the same way I would have to apply for visas, get the right passports, details, get my health and bank statements in order. Same applies to our pets. We must really think about, one, whether it's necessary to move them, and how then to move them, and whether it's financially feasible, because especially with airline travel, it can get quite expensive. I will open the session for questions from the audience. So please, if anybody has questions, I will be unmuting. You can raise your hand as I look for how to unmute everybody in the meantime. So, okay, you can unmute yourselves now. If you have any question, please go ahead, ask the veterinarians, they're here. We're all here to serve you. Abud Hussein, you have a question?
Yes, hello, Naomi.
Hello.
I'm actually here because of my sister. She's studying medicine in Malaysia, and she has 2 cats. She's coming back to Kenya, and she wants to bring the cats with her, but she doesn't know what to do. And she's flying with the Emirates.
Okay. Who would like to take that one?
I can do it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Hussein. At least your sister will be in very safe hands when she gets in touch with Dr. Gabriel, because the first thing we need is a health certificate and the vaccination. Once you get in touch with Dr. Gabriel, he'll get you a permit through the Director of Veterinary Services. Once she has the permit, then the rest of the other things Dr. Ouma can do. I think Dr. Ouma is capable of assisting us so well.
Yeah, spot on.
So,
you can reach to us. We hope we'll share the number, the phone number after this. Yeah, we are happy to assist.
The one question I didn't ask is the reverse, where we are importing animals to Kenya. Do the same regulations apply? How do we manage imports?
Once you get import,
yeah,
you're bringing in your pet into the country.
Yeah,
we just have the same documentation, because from the country that you're exporting will need an export permit, and the country that you are bringing in will need an import permit. And the regulations are just the same. We just have to have a vaccination records. You have to have a health certificate. Then you get an export permit from your country of origin. Then you make arrangements, send it to any of the agent, or send it to your brother Hussein is around. Hussein can apply you the import permit. Then you send all the import permit. Once it lands in Jomo Kenyatta International Airport with all the documentation, I'll be there to assist, get all the documents, stamp it. She passes through the customs. Then she has she has a pet.
Okay. All right. I hope, Hussein, your question has been answered sufficiently.
Yes.
And I'll provide contacts at the end.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I have a question from Sarah. She asks whether relocating can affect an animal in terms of age and health. And especially with the older animals.
I can tackle that. Young animals, it's a risk to transport young animals until at least 4 months, for 2 reasons. They're still under the care of their mother, the parents. They have a problem with heat regulation. Yeah. They have a problem with metabolism. They feed, but then they digest the food fast. So the age is very important. You must ensure that your animal is fit enough to travel. So ideally, I'll go for 4 months. Yeah. All the animals, yeah, at that high altitude, they can develop respiratory problems. Yeah. And also the pre-travel process by your vet is also different from when you're dealing with a fit animal. Yeah.
Okay, so you must have the health check to ensure that the animal is fit to travel.
So other things, for example, an animal, she's just about to give back. So you see, also stressing that animal. Traveling with such animal can be a hindrance also. you will rather wait than subject the mother to the stress factors. Another thing, an animal that has just given birth. We have other things that Gabriel has just mentioned. Puppies, young puppies can also be an issue. We have other factors. For example, an animal that is when you're traveling with animals, for example, number males and females, and the female is just on heat. It can also be problematic. So those are some of the things you look at before traveling with the animal.
Okay. There's another question. What about sedation? We had mentioned it before, but is it safe to sedate animals for travel? And why is it sometimes necessary? Or is it sedation? Is it sedation or is it a calming medication that is given? Who would like to take that one?
To handle that, first of all, we must all be aware that airlines, they shall not take responsibility for loss of their animal or injury to a person due to your animal. Sedation is illegal when transporting animals unless and otherwise prescribed for an existing condition by a vet. So in this case, we'll always go for calming medicine. There are hormones which calm the pets and make them feel relaxed. And if that one is not working for very aggressive dogs like Bobel, I had an experience where a dog ate its cage. And the owner was on the other side of the air wing, about to board. Then they said, Mr. Smith, you are needed by the vet. So the dog was pulled off the plane and it had really cut its face and the cage had a hole. So they had to cancel the trip. Such a dog needs tranquilization, which is a bit better than heavy sedation. But again, this is why you need to go to your vet and they will advise you on what to do.
Okay. Anybody else with a question? Please feel free to raise your hand. You can even put it in the chat if you have a question. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Maybe if each of you has something else to add, in the meantime, I will display your contacts for everybody to see and they can take them down. Dr. Maube, do you have anything to add for today's session?
No, just to thank you for the session. It's quite enlightening and for organizing such. Keep up.
Thank you. Dr. Gabriel?
Naomi, first of all, I really want to thank you. You know, personally, we've not met so many times, but you've really improved the standards as a person for animal welfare in the country. And if I was supposed to nominate someone who deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, it will be you. You work with vets, you work with pet owners, you brought pet owners to clinics when they could not afford to pay the payments, and you settled it. You've done fundraisers, and you brought us cat lovers. Vets we need, vets we're in the era of mental health, and we're always logging into cat lovers. We don't comment because that's who we are, but we really have a good laugh, and those funny videos that the cat lover people post, and of course now the podcast is bringing us together again. So God bless you, Naomi. And I also want to thank all the vets in the country, and as one of you, for the good job you're doing. Yeah, sometimes you're not paid or you're paid in milk and kind, but God will reward us for the good job that you're doing. And most importantly, I want to thank our Director of Vet Service for giving us the space to work without interference. And Dr. Rashid, This guy held my hand from 2016, took me through the process. And now, because of building other people's, he's also climbing up the ladder. And probably he'll be our next DVS. So thanks, Naomi, for putting this together. Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabriel. Dr. Rashid, anything to add? Sorry, Dr. Rashid, I actually have one more question for you. While you're situated at the JKIA, are there other veterinarians across other airports that provide the same service in Kenya?
Dr. Rashid, you're on mute.
Yes, we have what you call an animal holding station, which is under the Director of Veterinary Services.
Mm-hmm.
And we are two vets, the officer in charge, Dr. Irongo, David Irongo, and myself, Dr. Rashid, and we have some other AHAs, and we have interns. We have about 6 interns who we also try to nurture them up to come up and do the point of entry. And you've got a lot of activities of veterinary going on. And I would really want to thank you, Naomi. You have not met, but I'm so happy for your passion in animal welfare. And I would also want to ask your client, please, the DVS is there. The DVS assists everybody. You'll get your permit, you'll get everything so that we have our clean papers and we provide what we call animal welfare. And thank you so much, Naomi, for giving me this chance.
Not at all. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you've taken down the contacts for all the vets. And if you do need them, you can always reach out to us. We'll provide the same. This presentation will be available by tomorrow morning on our YouTube channel. We now have a YouTube channel. All our sessions are recorded sessions are hosted there, so you can review the same later. So thank you again. I would not be able to do this without the great network of veterinarians that I work with. Dr. Gabriel and Dr. Dennis are two of my firm favorites, especially when it comes to me asking for help for my mini stray cats. So thank you, we appreciate it very much. We look forward to, seeing the current branch opening up and, providing great services for our cats. I think my cats might be too many for you guys to handle, but maybe one day we'll try the pet hotel. At 7, they might fill the place up. Dr. Ibrahim, I do hope that I get to meet you. I will make time to come and meet you. Or if I have a chance to travel, I will make time to come to the airport early enough to come and hang out in your offices as I proceed to other things. So thank you very much, everybody. The podcast, we started, like I said, we started this to help ourselves learn about how to, provide better welfare for our animals. And hopefully we can continue with these sessions more. I will do my best to make sure these sessions happen every 2 weeks. Hopefully we can make them even better. In the bigger sense, I hope that one day we will be able to actually have these sessions in physical spaces where we can actually get to meet and interact as individuals. We do support Cat Lovers Kenya, and this is where this passion started. So I thank my entire community on that group, a very interesting group of vibrant cat parents. They keep my day going and they keep me busy on my toes. I hope that we will continue serving you and other communities and helping provide better welfare for animals. Thank you again so much. We will see you soon. I will send out details. For those who registered, we'll send you out an email with the next session dates and the topic. For everybody else, we hope that you'll tune into our Facebook channels and any other channels that we have where we broadcast our details and get to see the next session's details. Asanteni sana everybody for joining. You have been a good audience. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Bye, guys. Bye. Good night.